Hi everyone, Internet PCS book reader here. Today I want to talk about the inequality of wealth, why it matters, and how to fix it by Liam Bryan. Back to the non-fiction for a bit. After a few awards-winning fiction and a manga, we are going to try to tackle the inequality of wealth for a bit through this book. Now, this book is written by Liam Bryan. He's a politician, former MP of Britain Labour Party, so definitely take what he says with a grain of salt since he's a politician. I tried to look him up, but he's a politician who don't exactly overshare their opinion like politicians in US, which is a good thing. But it still came from British, and they've done a few of the worst things that happen in the world, like creating US from stolen land or creating Israel from stolen lands. From what I found, he's at least not a Brexit cheeser, so I'm hoping against hope that the guy is not that much of a weirdo politician. And I'm willing to learn since I don't want to be one of those content creators who is telling their audience that they know nothing about any given topic in 2015 and still don't know anything about that same topic in 2025 a decade later, but still give their opinion about that same topic those entire 10 years they know nothing about. So let's learn. The book surprisingly opened with the US President Roosevelt's speech about security, economic security, social security, and moral security. All these categories that the US is currently spectacularly failing. If anything, America has gone through more presidents since Roosevelt, and they all only make things even worse for almost everyone with the exception for a few select people at the top. We can see this now, especially when we see the super uber rich today in comparison to more normal people, not even going as far as the lower class, but even compared to the middle class like us. The rich is so rich that they seem like they're constantly on midlife crisis mode all the time. Having a car that is car is not enough. They have to be different, special, custom made and tailored only for them, so they seek for custom cars like Rolls Royce that build only 15 one out of one car every years, but it's still cars so it's not enough. After getting bored of land, they started looking to the sky and the sea, buying private jets and then of course big yacht. Yacht the size of a team sports field, and buying a yacht is not just about buying popular and big yacht. It had to be custom made to their liking. It had to be something no one else has ever seen. It had to be special but different kind of special. But of course, when they have them, it's not enough. Once they got over that special feeling they got from being the most materialistic at the land, sky and the sea, they need to find something else. So they started heading to space. To scale the absurdity of how rich the rich are, because of COVID-19 epidemic, the world as a whole lost a total of more than 15 trillion pounds. The top 1% of the most rich people on earth that have the richness combination of more than half the population of the world have more than 140 trillion pounds. And when the rest of the world got poorer and crazier because a lot of people become chronically online there, the top 1% only got richer. You see this building I'm showing you on screen right now? The building that is taller than the rest of the area, that's Residence Antila, the house of Indian billionaire Mukesh Ambani. That's not a hotel, not an apartment, and not an office space. That 27th floor building that costs 1 billion pounds is the house of a person. Then there's Verdai. Think of the worst YouTuber you can think of, the most scumbag of all the scumbags. That's Verdai. Children of rich people in China will never know how hard life can be because they've only experienced luxuries. If it's not Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Chanel or Versace, they don't want them. They become notorious in a bad way in China because they've done a lot of harmful things in a very public way, of course without getting any repercussion. They're the equivalent of Chaebol in Korea or Little Tsar in Russia, but Korea and Russia are even worse mostly because Further is comparatively newer and Russia is Russia. And the rise of Further is only one of the things that show how much the rich is getting richer. In UK, where the author is from, it's hard to get an estimation of how much and how rich the mega rich there are because the wealth survey is conducted every 2 years by averaging 17,000 people across 2 years. But even with an estimate loss of more than 800 billion pounds from the survey, after austerity, Brexit and COVID, where most of its population is getting poorer, the wealth of the rich increased by 89 billion pounds just from 2021 to 2023. The average wealth of the UK 1% rose more than 1.6 million pounds, while the average wealth of the rest of the UK rose by only 53,000 pounds. UK overall wealth from 2010 to 2021 has increased by 4 trillion pounds, and almost 1 trillion of those are from the 1% of the population. It's kinda crazy how skewed the wealth gap between the rich and the rest of the world is. We used to rarely hear about the super rich except in fiction, and usually they are not displayed as people who are trying to change the rules so they can bypass laws that might cause them to decrease their income by a tiny bit. But now we know so much about them, too much even. We know about the brands they're buying, we know about the brands they're selling, we know about their city opinions on things that they're not educated enough to talk about, and while their poor ivory glitter effort to show us a world that looks glamorous on the surface level only, and instead of being horrified by it, a lot of us got great grasp it and become entranced by their lifestyle instead. Some of us are so distracted by it while the rich are changing how much they should pay and how much we should pay, changing the economic landscape in a speed that is starting to be visible with the naked eye. In early 2020, more than 8 million working-age adults live in poverty. Meanwhile, the richest people will never care about lacking food or lacking a roof over their head until they die. And once people don't care about their needs anymore, they often then seek after status. At first, it starts mostly innocent by showing off their purchasing and consumption power. But once the high of those wear down, some become addicted to influence. How they can influence things so they can get more benefit. How they can influence things so they can get away with things that normal people can. And thus, oligarchy came into existence. When the richest start to not only crash after status but power, they will start to turn into hoarder in terms of their wealth, and they will want to share them as little as possible. If possible, not at all. Then they started practicing unfair business practices, often in blatant ways that the public can see. In UK, the rich of the rich not only pay less tax compared to the poor, but sometimes they did not pay at all while the government has turned into a giant industry that is devoted to help the rich keep as much of their wealth as possible. Then there's also neuroscience data that shows how the more rich you are, the less sympathetic you can become. In these studies, the results consistently show that the poor give more than the rich. Then when you combine that with getting used to stepping the line and not getting into troubles, the oligarch will eventually start into doing economic crimes. There's so many examples of this, a ton of money laundering for the rich, including the Russian Troika laundromat that involves countries around the world, the Azerbaijan laundromat that is more of the same thing, the 1MDB scam that involves the big Light & Co company, there's Chevron which became the only company that imprisoned a person in modern world, a lawyer that proved that Chevron will fully ruin Amazon and won the case was exiled to his own home for decades, while Chevron can just not pay the lawsuit that they lost. There's of course the various NFT scammers Logan Paul or Sam Bankman-Fried whose plan to get out of jail is to come out as a Republican and become an anti-woke Trumpers, a plan that is going according to plan. And without these cases that keeps happening that people who love their billionaire celebrities might define as a few bad apples at the core level, inequality itself brings injustice. It has been so historically, even in ancient Rome when Cicero exposed the Catilin conspiracy, and if anything, it's only getting worse now. Personally, I think it's why a lot of these billionaires turn into fascism, because if what they always want is more and more and more, fascism offers those more to them since it specializes in having the most for the guys at the top. Absolute power, absolutely corrupt and all that. But unfortunately, the book didn't touch on those issues. What the book did is it goes through what is basically a history of the world economy, which I know sounds boring, but it's extremely well written. It goes through a lot of economic practices, it goes through a ton of economic terms during those journey across history. There's technopolis, which is when technology started to become the arbiter of moral and philosophy. Monopsony, where because of a single buyer control or dominates a market, they become the only one who decide everyone's wages in those markets. There's also market supremacists, a term that the author made about the people who basically did all of the bad things we mentioned so far in this video and more. There are a few things that I don't fully agree with the solution that the author gave for all of this bastardization of our economy, but he did a great job at dismantling a lot of what has gone wrong with it. The lone genius and Western exceptionalism, for example, where people still think that invention that changed the world is done by someone having a eureka moment, which is a very illiterate moment of humanity. And the book solution is not even anything that is too radical. The author is very clear that he don't have faith that anything too radical can be executed with the current way the world did politics. He just want to somewhat level the playing field of the market. Because currently, free market just means the 1% is free to do whatever they want, while the rest of us need to support them so they can do whatever they want. While his solution is still focusing on fixing capitalism, which at this point is like trying to close a hole on an already sink ship, but because currently the bar is in hell, it's still a much better economic world compared to what we have now. While the book is focused mostly on fixing UK at the end of the book, most of the economic theories and practices that the book refers to is unfortunately the reality of most of the rest of the world, yes, even third world countries. So while I have my own issue with the solution for various reasons, the book is still very decent educational look into economy that is more than just social media gossip. If you're interested in that, give it a try. I give this a 3.25. What do you think? Let me know if I missed anything, so leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it. See ya.